Wendy Johnston, and I'm here to put forward the highlights of a submission that will be made by the North Shore Transition Initiating Group. We're a group of concerned and active local residents who come together with the shared vision of building resilience and sustainability in our communities in response to the challenges of global change. Our aim is to support citizens who are already involved in and to encourage community members to become involved, to offer their own ideas and insight, and to pitch in to help create a viable and sustainable future for ourselves, our children, and all future generations. We try to support and initiate efforts to address the many possible global changes in energy supply, unstable economies, and climate change in the years ahead. And we want to create stronger and happier communities. So from our point of view, there's a number of critical questions in terms of this kind of new energy development. The first question would be, will it exacerbate climate change? I think the answer to that is yes. Will it add more fossil fuels to the pile of burnable carbon at a time when we need to urgently cut emissions? I say again, the answer is yes to that. Is it helping us build renewable energy infrastructure? The transition movement would say no. And we would add that we think we need incentives for energy efficiencies. That'll be discussed in our March 29th workshop, actually coming up here in Tattnabouche. Widespread reuse strategies and a faster implementation of fossil-free energy solutions, solar, tidal, geothermal, and wind. The next question is, does it involve externalities? I love that word. It's pollution, environmental damage, unintended impacts that someone other than the resource extracting company will have to pay for. And we've seen this over and over again, not just with fracking, but with other kinds of fossil fuel mining. It will involve those kinds of problems, and we would get stuck with them. And we don't want communities to suffer from these damages and have to pay for the negative impacts that a company can walk away from. What's the impact on local resilience, both economic and ecological? Fracking operations would bring very little money into our communities for the limited employment that they would provide. And if they did import workers, which many of these companies have done, they might put quite a bit of pressure on the local housing capacity and also on our local social life. Just think about a lot of the young guys who've gone out to Alberta and the tar sands, who have more money than sense and who get involved in all kinds of things like drug abuse and alcohol abuse. For us, community-owned companies and local businesses keep our money in the community instead of profits returning to shareholders who don't care about our community. Fracking would weaken our community's economic resilience, not strengthen it. We're also a group that is very much in favor of solutions that include a whole social justice perspective. So from what would the impact be of fracking on social justice? Fracking operations are owned by distant companies who do not consider social justice as one of their priorities, to say the least. Local initiatives, we believe, would be more inclined to address local issues of social justice because most of our community members care deeply about our entire community, and that's why you're here today. Does the direction to use or not use any given fuel or technology include an analysis of the power relationships with those involved? And we only have to think about what kind of relationship there is between the fossil fuel companies and our federal government. What kinds of subsidies they get, what kinds of promotion happens, what kinds of mutual self-interest happens. I think from a transition point of view, we'd have to acknowledge that there's a really big difference of power between fossil fuel companies, including fracking, and the rest of us, and that those companies have a privileged relationship with all levels of government. From a transition point of view, we would encourage investors to divest from all fossil fuels as part of the solution. So in summary, does fracking form a decisive part of the push toward the kind of more socially just, fair, and resilient future we so urgently need to see? No, transition believes that there's many other alternatives which would support such a vision. People in our communities are already contributing to such a vision through their investments in the CCWF, the wind fields, their efforts to buy locally, through our local farmers market and CSAs, and many other initiatives. The most successful one for the transition movement has been the Local Food Initiative. All these initiatives do contribute to our community's abilities to be more prepared for the future, economic and climate instability. Fracking does not. And I just wanted to finish by quoting George Monbiot. I know you'll really appreciate this. If anybody ever suggests to you that shale gas is a bridge to a low-carbon future, his quote is, "Believing a shale gas is a good bridging fuel to a low-carbon future is like believing that a double fudge chocolate cake is a bridge to a low-calorie diet."